One of the hardest concepts for me as a kid growing up in an evangelical environment was the concept of loving myself. I grew up with the Bible verse about loving your neighbor as yourself, but that was the closest I ever got to the concept that I was supposed to care about myself or my own needs. Instead, I was taught the acronym JOY. It's where you're supposed to put Jesus first, others second, and yourself at the end of the line. And that's a really toxic way to live. Very few living things are going to harm someone else just because they want to. It's because of a need for resources, or a fear response driven by a health issue, or because you crossed a line. Because having limits and being safe in asserting your own boundaries, that's a need that is a fundamental universal part of being alive. And we're encouraged to have compassion for others when they're struggling with that or when they have needs that are going unmet. But who is supposed to tell us that we're supposed to be the same kind of gentle with ourselves? One thing that I had to learn that was really hard for me as part of alcoholism recovery was that I was worth healing. And that can be really hard, especially since it means that you have to feel all of that anger that you've pushed down at the ways in which the world has treated you as though you weren't. Before I even got to that point, I also had to learn to see myself as I really am. Even after years of disability advocacy and working closely with other autistic people whom I respected deeply, I was super offended at the idea that they might see some of their autistic traits reflected in me. And it wasn't until I learned to accept that my struggles with rigidity of thinking, my feeling of being attacked or unsafe when a conversation didn't go the way I had scripted it in my head, and my strict adherence to an enforcement of the rules of social interaction that don't come naturally to me were all intrinsic parts of my neurological wiring rather than something being fundamentally wrong or broken in me. And that the times when I get massively overwhelmed and end up bawling my eyes out over social situations I'm completely unequipped to handle are what autistic meltdowns look like in an adult, and not something I can help, rather than ways in which trauma has left me broken. That was when I was able to hold more compassion for myself in those struggles. And as a result, offer that same compassion to others. But I had to see myself honestly first. Deprogramming from that culture of self-denial for its own sake also means learning to accept credit for our own accomplishments without dismissing or minimizing what we've done. While it's absolutely true that being arrogant and obnoxious about it hurts the people around us, eventually we have to accept that the people who love us want to be part of celebrating our wins. By not letting people know about the things that we've done well and sharing the joys that we have in our lives, we deprive them of the opportunity to show up for us in the good times, which can leave the people we love feeling like we only want them around when we need something or we want support. And that's not a good feeling for anybody. Nobody wants to feel like that. When we make ourselves smaller to become more palatable for the people around us, we don't just harm ourselves by depriving ourselves of our own needs. We also harm our friends, our family, and our community by making our interactions with them and our connections with them unequal and inauthentic. So this week, take some time to think about how you view yourself and how you would feel if someone talked to your partner or your friend or your child the way you're talking to yourself. Because you're someone's partner, someone's friend, or someone's child. And showing yourself that same compassion and understanding that you deserve gentleness doesn't just give you what you need, it also gives you the tools to show up better for them and to be more real for them.